Hello, welcome to LOCKBEARD Phenomena number 98. Contact with who? Um, we are only on Rumble, so chat's going to be lean. Donald's expressing his exasperation here, finally catching live. Wish more people would chat. Yeah, um, it'll grow. It'll grow. We're just getting going on Rumble, really. And a lot of the people from YouTube just aren't used to, they're not used to Rumble. And it's just, I get it. I have my issues with Rumble, but the thing about Rumble is we can actually live stream no matter what we say. The censorship of YouTube is excessive. It's definitely un-American. It's driven by the government through evil rich fucks that control the government. Just to be clear, our government's got a lot of people with puppet strings on them, and they're doing the bidding of someone else who is not the voters. And the government's been, putting pressure and on social media, big tech, to censor what people are talking about. So that's why LOCKBEARD channel is currently suspended on YouTube for another 9 days. I think I got 9 days left. And then we got to be really careful because another strike after that, they'll delete the channel again, and then we'll have to get a whole new channel going on to stay on YouTube. So, which, as everyone that's been watching the channel for the last 2 years knows, that's what we have to do on a regular basis. We have to start all over again. So hopefully we got plenty of people that are realizing that's the reality of the battle that I'm fighting against censorship, to speak about the truth. And it's just part of the battle. Like I think it was Chessboard last night saying something about doing the same thing over and over again. Well, and expecting it, but the whole phrase of that's and expecting a different result. I'm not really expecting a different result though. I know that YouTube's going to continue to try and censor me, and I got to keep fighting them, because if you stop fighting, they win. That's not acceptable. So, if we want the truth of all these different things, we've got to fight for free expression, because once they get successful at just shutting everybody up, we're never going to find the truth about UFOs or spiritual stuff or Bigfoot or anything. So people in the Bigfoot community and the UFO crowd and all you people who think that this it's not, they're not, YouTube's not really censoring Bigfoot stuff or anything. Just wait. Once the totalitarians get away with censoring this stuff over here, they'll start censoring other stuff. And but I'm pretty sure they are censoring some YouTube or some Bigfoot stuff, and UFO, and also if you're talking about things that are too close to the truth, which I think I do. I think I do, because I'm not talking. They let the woo people go full bore. I guarantee you that when I do a live stream that's about Bigfoot, it doesn't get suggested to anybody. But if you're one of those people that are preaching Bigfoot religion, woo, portals and cloaking and telepathic communication and all that crap, they're probably pushing those because that's bullshit. All that stuff's bullshit. And I'm just telling people that I think the best hypothesis that's supported by fucking reality is that the Bigfoot people are a race of human beings. They are not a separate species. In the genus Homo, I think they are Homo sapiens. They are the same species as us. Now, I think a lot of people have a hard time understanding this. Because people aren't like, what is a species? A species is a population of life forms that can interbreed with each other normally. We're not talking about mules and jackasses and ligers and all that shit. Those are cases where the two species involved have started to speciate, become two separate species, but they haven't fully completed that process yet. So they can still produce an offspring, but the offspring is defective. It can't breed normally and stuff like that. That doesn't count. So get over that hybrid stuff. Forget that crap. That's not normal reproductive situations when you're looking at tigons and ligers and all that stuff. That's not normal reproduction. Okay, the offspring aren't a proper blend of the parents that can breed normally and breed back to both parents just fine and with each other just fine. It's not like that. So you gotta understand that what a species is. And I get so irritated when people try to blur the line because we're in a culture right now. You know, again, we're getting some politics where they try to change the definitions of words. They try to change the definitions of everything to keep you confused of what you don't know what's up or down. You know, right now they're trying to tell you shit, crazy shit. I'm surprised they haven't come out and said that this is not my left hand. This could be my right hand. If I feel like it's my right hand, it's a right hand. It's fine. You don't try to label my left hand a left hand. You racist white supremacist piece of shit. That's how ridiculous it is. We have words. I wish I had that clip from the Orville where Captain Mercer has been exposed to an alien pheromone that's making him, well, he's fallen in love with this male alien, and he's acting kind of and stuff like that, and he starts going on this big tirade with his buddy there, and you know his buddy's like, I think you're really into him, and he's like, well, into me? He's like, why? And he goes on a tirade about putting labels on things, you know. Why do we got to label things? Why can't why, anyway, I wish I had that clip because it tells the whole damn story. And then his buddy says, well, I just think it's good to have words. Yeah, we have words to describe shit for a fucking reason. We need the word species. We need it to mean exactly what it means. And when people sit there and try to say, well, maybe it doesn't mean, it needs to mean this over here. Maybe we need to expand the definition. No, there is still a thing that is called a population of life forms that can breed with each other normally. That is still a thing. It's a real classification that needs to have a word for it. And the word for it is fucking species. So these fucks out here, they're trying to blur the boundary of what's a species, what's not a species, what. No, if you want to have something that's a blurred idea of what I'm talking about here, a population of animals or plants or any kind of life form that interbreeds with itself normally, that reproduces normally, you need to come up with a different word to describe the other thing that you're talking about, because this is what I'm talking about, and the word species applies to that. So don't fucking try to obfuscate the word species. It means a certain thing. Stop it. Now, rant over on that shit. Fucking hell. Anyway, you got to have words for shit. And the definition of those words got to be precise. That's why you have a legal dictionary. Legal terms matter when you're engaged in legal descriptions of things. You start fucking with what is this, what is that, you have a problem. I saw an adult male, blah, blah. Oh, well, why is it got to be male? Maybe it's a female. We need to call them a they, them. That's fucking stupid. Fucking stop it. Okay? But, so, yeah, I think that there's, but I think the reason why there may be some degree of de-emphasizing certain people on the internet, on channels on YouTube, when it comes to talking about Bigfoot, is if for people that are talking about what I say, is that it isn't this magical thing, a bunch of bullshit that these people come up with. It is just a race of humans, Homo sapiens humans, the same species as us. Okay, we got several different races that we already know about. Okay, they have physical differences. That's not fucking racist to say. It's just goddamn reality. If two white people have a baby, it turns out white. It doesn't turn out black. It's a real thing. It's not racist to acknowledge that. It's important. And Bigfoot, I think, the most logical Occam's razor hypothesis to come up about that is that they are just another race of people who are bigger than all the others that we know of today and much hairier. And that's it. And they stay hidden really, really well. The idea, because some people try to make fun of, well, look, we got this animal here. I saw a post on the coalition on Facebook or about the condors, and the condors are so small in number. But condors aren't highly elusive, number one. Obviously, they don't give a fuck. But two, they don't have the intelligence level. So if we're dealing with a race of humans, they are at least equal in intelligence as to us, and have reason to hide from us, because humans have always killed each other excessively, violently. That's what we do. It's not good or bad or whatever. It's just the reality of what humans are. Some people are like, oh, why do we got to go to war? It's stupid. Well, you're thinking with whatever programming you have in your head. Humans have to fight, and it's important that we do fight. And explaining the evolutionary reasons, we could go on and on about this, but if you understand anything about nature, animals have to compete with each other within their species. Every year, white-tailed deer grow a new set of antlers for one purpose. Okay, and they're going to fight each other, and sometimes it ends up being to the death. There's a reason for that. It keeps the species strong and developing and changing and adapting, and it's a way of sorting out the best, so that the next generation can have the best genes. So it's important, and it's no different for humans. If humans didn't compete with each other, we would have fucking died out. So even plants compete with each other, for fuck's sake. But a lot of people, they just, oh, we gotta have peace. No, we don't gotta have peace. Peace is bad. Peace is actually bad. And there's even a saying out there. I'm gonna mess it up, but it's hard times make hard men. Hard men create easy times. Something that peaceful times, because they go to war and everything calms down for a while. And then those easy times, those they didn't use the word easy, but soft times. They create soft times, something like that. Soft times create soft men. Soft men fuck everything up, and it ends up causing hard times. So soft men cause hard times, and then you're back to the hard times create hard men. It's just a cycle that we go through. But if we don't go through the cycle, if we allow this technological horror of a world that we live in right now to allow the most parasitic and evil genocidal maniacs that perpetrated the vaccine, the so-called vaccine, because it's not a vaccine. It's not a vaccine. It's a fucking death jab is what it is. What they will do was in that cycle, basically using this technology and create a situation where they live as masters over all of us as slaves, and they will selectively breed humanity to be nothing but a big slave race that has no desire to fight and is perfectly like they weren't kidding when they said you will own nothing and be happy or whatever. Now, it's not going to happen immediately, but if they're allowed to continue what they're going to do, they're going to selectively breed us as a slave race. Those of us who aren't part of the big club, right? Where's my here we go, the big club.
It's a big club, and you ain't in it.
You ain't in it. StreamYard, what the hell happened to my videos? You clipped the end off every one of them. For fuck's sake. Anyway, so that's what their goal is, and when they're done, after they selectively breed humanity to be like that, yeah, all the humans will own nothing and be happy to be good little slaves. Well, I don't intend on becoming one of those, or my descendants becoming part of that. So that's why I hope that everyone's going to fight going forward, and the people that are in the Bigfoot side of things, the UFOs, the ghost and all that stuff. I hope that those of you who are not happy about fucking with politics, you don't want, like, some of you have expressed you don't want to talk about politics. Well, here's the thing, here's a hard reality, okay? You may not care about politics, but politics cares about you. It's coming for you. This is why this whole pandemic bullshit was allowed to happen, is because people like you were not taking an interest in politics and voting hard and not making compromises. You got to stop making compromises. Okay? You got to stop. We would have UFO disclosure in full right now if you were involved with politics. We would have Bigfoot disclosure in full at this point if you were involved with politics. And the young people out there, you have got to get involved in politics, because I tell you what, your asses are about to be rounded up and sent to a war. You don't believe me? Just wait. You're going to be, if any of you out there, you young people, heard my voice before this shit goes down, you better fucking remember, because and don't even wait for me to say I told you so. You come and tell me. You told us so. You fucking right, I told you so. They've about run out of Ukrainians for the meat grinder over there, and guess who's next? Okay, NATO is causing this whole conflict. It caused it from the very beginning. Russia was wronged. Okay, they made a deal with Russia. NATO wasn't supposed to expand east. They made that promise to Gorbachev, and they broke it. And the United States is part of NATO. And that vote we talked about last night about the amendment to the NDAA that was supposed by Rand Paul. If you don't know who Rand Paul is, y'all better fucking recognize. This guy is actually trying to save your ass, and you guys better support this man. It failed, though. The amendment was voted down. The amendment was basically saying that NATO can't drag the United States into a war without Congress specifically voting to go to war, like it should. And it hasn't done for a long time. They keep letting the president just send people to die. And it's not supposed to be like that. In the short term, if it's something that needs to happen fast, but when we go to war, Congress is supposed to declare war officially. And basically our senators, and including 2/3 of the Republican senators, voted that basically NATO can drag us into a war with Russia. And since it looks like Russia's kind of cozying up to China and maybe some other nations, we're going to end up sending our young people to the draft, and you're going to war. So you better get involved with politics. Start voting for not just any Republican, but certainly no Democrats. The Democrat Party's totally lost its goddamn mind. So I hate to pick one over the other. I used to just dislike both parties. Well, now I utterly hate the Democrat Party and want it fucking destroyed. And the Republican Party, I still dislike for the most part. But there's a few good ones. Senator Lankford in Oklahoma actually voted yes on the amendment, and as he should have, that NATO can't send our young people to war without congressional official congressional vote to declare war. And but our other senator, Mark Wayne Mullen, is that his name? That son of a bitch voted no. He's a Republican. So you better believe I'm going to be mentioning that shit over and over again to people in Oklahoma, because that shit shouldn't happen. That he shouldn't have voted that way. Hold on a second, I'm checking something here. I feel like I'm saying the wrong last name on that guy. Hold on a second. Yeah, it's Mullen, Mullin, a Republican in Oklahoma. Mark Wayne. For whatever reason, his parents couldn't pick a word, and they stuck Mark and Wayne together. Anyway, that dumb fuck voted no. But James Lankford in Oklahoma voted yes. So, and of course, Rand Paul introduced the bill. Ted Cruz in Texas voted yes. So that's a good one, at least as far as this vote goes. But yeah. But if, of course, a lot of people listen to this probably aren't believing me. They're probably not believing me that they're about to watch their young men, or if they are a young man, they're probably about to watch a draft happen, because our military is not remotely. Have you been following? I mean, we're not getting people volunteering near as much, and if we get dragged into World War III, and we're going to lose on man. They're trying to thin the herd. A lot of people out there, I think that they're trying to kill as many people as they can. They want to thin humanity out. So, but you guys are about to watch. So again, you people in the paranormal community, maybe you're not going to believe me. You know what? You're going to get a fucking rude awakening. Just wait. It's coming. But, and there's going to be fighting here this time. There will be fighting here. Don't believe me? Just fucking wait. But if you don't care about that because you got your head all the way up your ass, maybe it's fucking sad, but maybe I can only reach you by saying, look, if you were more involved with politics, we would have full disclosure of UFOs, ghosts, and Bigfoot by now. But we don't. We don't, because you're not involved in politics. You're not voting and voting hard for what you want. You don't care about politics, but politics cares about you. It cares about controlling you and keeping secrets from you. And because you're not involved in politics, whoever you people out there, you know which ones you are. Because you're bored. It's boring. It's boring. Fine. If you don't want to pay too close attention to it, just report to me. I'll tell you who to vote for. You go fucking vote for that person, and then I'll make it simple for you, okay? I'm perfectly happy to advise you on who to vote for, because I try to stay very well informed about who needs to be voted for. In fact, in 2028, you guys should probably all be prepared to vote for me for president. It's the only way to save this fucking nation. We're probably gonna go through another 4 years of Trump, which would be pretty acceptable. But then you know, but after that, what's going to happen? You know, is everyone going to be complacent again and stop paying attention to elections, and then we get another election stolen? Because they did steal the last one. That's a goddamn fact. They stole it. And for those people who are like, you're a Trumper. No, I'm not a Trumper. I actually do not like Trump very much. You know, he did some good stuff, but some bad stuff too. And I don't feel he acts presidential at all. But at this point, fuck that. That's out the window anyway. We got so many wackadoodles out there, AOC with their crazy eyes and everything else. But I want free and fair elections, and I know who the fucking president is right now. The legal president of the country right now is not Joe Biden. It never was. It's Donald Trump. But they stole the country. There was a coup. So anyway, let's try to get on with the shit here. Let me check out the chat. I know the chat's starting to roll. Let me switch to this view. How's this look? Looks a little better. Donald says, "Hey, Lockbeard, I guess Mr. Lee is taking a break from Bigfoot." Yeah, I don't know what Mr. Lee's up to, man. He needs to get back with it. Angel Nolan's here. Welcome. She says, "I'm late, lost track of time." That's all right. That's all right. Yeah, I ain't even gotten into the stuff I had prepared or pulled up anyway. Donald says, "LO woke will have us question our dominant hand." There's no shit, man. I'm telling you. These people are fucking nuts. Angel says, "Donald, I can work with either hand, but my right is dominant." This is something that's been it's a minor little thing that's interested me. Apparently, this is something that's learned, and so I think it'd be really interesting for and there's probably someone out there studying this a little more in depth. Like, how do you train a kid to be ambidextrous from the start? You know, we're allowing if it's true that it's truly just a learned thing, then wouldn't it be beneficial to figure out a way to begin to train kids to all be ambidextrous, you know, equally right and left-handed? You know, something to think about. Donald says, "We have lost most of our channels that use critical thinking on the subject. Leon was wrong when he said people will want the true facts." Yeah, a lot of people want a fantasy world, man. That's why we got this gaming culture thing is huge. It's huge because people, man, real life, they're checked out. They have already regressed into a fantasy world in the games. And as the virtual reality stuff gets better and better, there will be people who will check into the virtual world and stay there as long as they can anyway. Maybe they come out to go to work in the morning, but they don't have families anymore. They go into the virtual reality world and they have a fake family there. This is you know, and I think that those of us that aren't getting sucked into all that should only ones that breed anyway, because those people are too weak. They're too weak. They can't do real life. They can only do virtual reality in games. You know, they go pick some big, strong, buff-looking guy, but they won't go to the gym and become a big, strong, buff guy themselves. I'm not saying everybody needs to get super huge or anything. I'm just saying, why are you dreaming about being some great martial arts fighter or some big, strong barbarian dude in virtual reality instead of doing it in real life? Because you can, but they don't want to. Angel says Donald critical thinking is not common anymore. Think Common Core for teachers no longer allowing 2 points of view. Yeah. Yeah, 2 points of view, or 3 or 4. We got to fix the education system, and I think that the best thing to do is to cut off federal interference at all. Pretty much completely shut down the Department of Education, I think. Maybe have a small committee, not a whole fucking department. A committee that investigates standards and but we gotta be careful. We can't make it a absolute requirement. Maybe it needs to be something that can be reviewed independently. You can't have a situation where the government says you have to teach this, because sometimes they'll say you have to teach Common Core or critical race theory or any other kind of bullshit. So that's the problem. So it needs to be privatized, completely privatized, and this big bloated Department of Education bullshit needs to go away. Vote for Earl Salisbury 2028 president, and I will shut that bitch down. Department of Education goes away. Maybe some small, very diminished thing that kind of deals with education issues a little bit, but not that huge department that they have for some damn reason to drastically fail. I'll shut down a lot of other things too. EPA goes away. Investigate everybody, by the way, because everybody was involved in the decision to allow Bill Gates to release malaria into the United States with his fucking genetically engineered mosquitoes. He was given permission by the EPA to do that. We need to investigate the fuck out of that, and if we can prove that it was Bill Gates' fault that people got malaria in the U.S. from his fucking mosquitoes, well, whoever in the EPA approved it needs to fucking go to jail. Some people's lives were affected, and of course, Bill Gates himself. Donald says, "Don't get started on the vaccine. Keep it cryptid." Yeah, we are on Rumble. We are on Rumble, and only on Rumble right now. Did you know Putin is giving farmers land to grow non-GMO products? The Russian people would be so much stronger than us because of him banning GMO foods. Yeah. Everybody with land out there, you've got to hear me. One way to fight GMO is stop eating the foods that you're not supposed to eat anyway. Humans are specifically, and if you don't believe me, anyone out there that's listening to me, if you don't believe me, you owe it to yourself, your own health, and the health of your family and everyone you know. Because once you figure this out, you'll know how to cure all of those diseases that people are getting right now that the doctors say is incurable, and they just sell you mainly they just sell you pharmaceuticals for the rest of your life that have all kinds of horrible side effects, cost you tons of money, and never cures you. Okay, if you have diabetes, it will go the fuck away if you listen to me. You have heart disease, it will go the fuck away. All the autoimmune disorders, they'll go fuck away. Your gut dysregulation issues, all the problems with your gut, you know what I'm talking about. People are suffering bad with shit with their gut, goes away. Mental issues, almost completely everything goes away. There's very little that will not be cured by eating what your species is designed to eat. And for humans are designed to eat big, fatty, red-meated animals. Mastodons, woolly mammoths, giant ground sloths. There was 130 different species of big freaking animals that got wiped out. All of our prey, our normal prey, got wiped out. So now all we got to work with is shit like cattle, and hogs and stuff like that. But that's the best we can do. Cattle is kind of the best thing we can go with at this point. If you go to nothing but eating nothing but fatty, very fatty red meat, you can throw some seafood in there, but nothing from a plant. Nothing from a plant. The plants all contain toxins, every last one of them. They have hundreds of different natural plant toxins that humans aren't designed to eat. You go to that, you'll cure everything, and you'll be, and of course, that means you're getting rid of shit like corn, which is pretty much all GMO now, and so on and so forth. So you'll get rid of all the GMO shit. Just raise you some cows, or if you know someone who's got a herd of cows, say, hey, I want to buy, a butchered cow. Because what can happen, and the best thing to do is what you do is you buy the steer, and you ask the rancher to deliver the steer to the meat processor. It gets processed there, cut up, packaged up. You come pick it up, pay the money, boom, you are good. One steer is going to, feed. It's going to feed you for a very long time. I can't remember how many pounds of meat's in a steer, but a steer will last me more than a year. One animal. One animal. As opposed to being a vegan that kills hundreds and hundreds of animals because they plow under a field and they kill everything that's living in a field. Nest full of baby bunnies, turtles, everything fucking dies in that field. And then they plant just one species of plant. So everything that relied on all of those other plants there for their food sources is going to starve, right? Because it's run down. Its food sources are gone. There's supposed to be some milkweed in that pasture in that farmland, for example, that butterfly larvae come and grow on, and so you're damaging the native animals down to the butterflies, and then they spray them with all kinds of chemicals, and that ends up damaging all of the animals in the surrounding area. That damages the waterways. It's killing everything. Vegans kill a lot more animals than carnivore. 100% carnivore person, like I said, if I just stuck to eating nothing but beef for a year, which is not really a big problem, I would only need one steer, and that would last me more than a year. So, but yeah, that's the way we could sort it out. Tell people to stop eating shit that's not meat. Starve out the farming, the agriculture that's destroying the land. You can convert those wheat fields to pasture. Just run the cattle out there, and then let nature take its course. The cattle will graze like they're supposed to, and boom. So that's how you save yourself from that. Just stop eating plants. If you don't got a big freezer to put a whole steer in there, get one. Just buckle down and get one. In the long run, you're going to save a whole bunch of money doing this. You just throw a whole steer in the freezer, boom, away you go. If it won't fit, make a bunch of jerky. Or can some of it. You can can meat. Donald says, LOCKBEARD, are you going to try to run for state rep of Oklahoma? I'm sure there's some rich people there that would back your run. Maybe. I don't know. This election, I can't do anything right now. I'm so broke right now. You got to pay, and I think we're past the deadline anyway. And they have a discriminatory system where if you're a rich person and you can just pay them a fee, they'll let you enter the race. But if you're not a rich person, they're going to make you go jump through some hoops, which the hoop is you go and you run around with a petition and try to get a bunch of signatures for people to support you in order for them to allow you the right to run. I think this is bullshit all the way around. You should, if you want to run for office, you shouldn't have to do any of these things. But it's discriminatory because if you're a poor person, you have to go get the signatures. If you're a rich person, you don't, because you just pay. So it ain't right. But I think we're past the deadline. I think it happened back in April. So I think we're past the deadline for running for this next. Angel says, back to the basics: math, reading, writing, real math, not crap they teach now. Donald says I'm buffering terrible, but it is cheaper buying a cow to have processed than buying at the supermarket butcher shop. Yeah, it's just a better way to do it, and I think probably the best way to handle it is just make friends with a rancher that and ideally you want just grass fed only, but even if it isn't grass fed only, cattle are generally mainly still fed on grass. They just fatten them up on some grain, but and then you just have them deliver it to the butcher. They get that all handled there, and then you pick up your bring some coolers and pick up your meat, and you're good for the year per person. Maybe if it's you got a large family, you'll need to get more later in the year, halfway through the year, but and you eat less. If you stick to carnivore diet and you're eating plenty of fat and stuff like that, you actually eat less food because you're not hungry. You eat way less food, so it is cheaper. Like people say, oh, okay, meat's expensive. But you eat so much less food that it's cheaper. And then if you also count how much it would cost you in medical bills if you don't do this, you do this, you're not going to get heart disease, cancer, diabetes, autoimmune diseases, mental illnesses, skin issues, all kinds of shit that just. The humans are suffering from all this bullshit because they're poisoned. Their system is all fucked up from a bunch of toxins that they're eating all the time. And that's not enough to kill you kind of toxins, but toxins that disrupt all of your systems. I mean, isn't it crazy that people on carnivore can stay out in the sun a whole lot more than people who aren't carnivore? Something about eating these toxic plants disables your body's ability to resist the sun. You're not supposed to burn. You're supposed to be able to deal with sun a whole lot better. So that's another if you ever had a really bad sunburn, man, you get it. It's a bad deal. Donald says I don't get the new math. Angel says, Donald, I don't either. My daughter said total waste of ink and paper. Chessboard's here. You're saying hello to everybody. Welcome, Chessboard. Buy a new car, not by choice. It broke me the price. Oh, fuck, man. Yeah. We're going to be back to horse and buggy before it's over. Chessboard says, no comment on my hand's dexterity. Donald says, hey, Chessboard. Angel says, one steer will feed a family of 3 for about a year. I never did get that figured out exactly. I don't know how much. What I do know is when I was tracking my intake, I was lifting weights every day, and I had been sticking to carnivore for 6 months and tracking everything. And I was tracking, and this is after I went from keto to carnivore, and before keto I was kind of back and forth between eating whatever the hell to eating kind of a standard bodybuilder type gym food recommendation, chicken breast, broccoli, and brown rice kind of shit, right? And what I discovered was that the amount of food, because I was weighing out every single ounce that I was eating. Everything was being documented, weighed out, and documented. My food intake dropped to between 25 to 33% a day of what I used to eat. I was eating less than a third of the food than I used to eat when I went to carnivore because I wasn't hungry anymore. the food I'm eating is real nutrition, so I don't need as much food anymore. And that amounted to about a pound a day. About a pound a day. Sometimes I'd eat a little more than a pound, but then there'd be some days I would skip eating altogether. I would fast for 2 days sometimes. And it was not an issue. I did not get hungry like I would have before, because when you're eating plants and your body's just being poisoned by all that crap, and you're getting those hormonal signals from the carbs that's telling you you're hungry too, you're ravenously hungry all the time. That's how I would describe the hunger that I had before. It was ravenous compared to what I have now, which I think is what's normal. I don't get hungry and unable to function or think, and I'm like, okay, I could eat, but I got shit to do, so just forget about it. And I can forget about it for 2 days if I need to. So what that amounts to basically is if I'm eating a average of about a pound of fatty meat a day, I just need 365 pounds a year of fatty meat, which I think is way less than a steer puts out, right? So I don't know what a steer puts out, but a lot of people, they don't eat as little as I was on carnivore, so I don't know what that's about. But Donald says, Angel says, wait a minute, skipped here. Here we go. Donald says, I'd like the one treated like a Wagyu cow. Yeah. Angel says, Donald, they are expensive ones. I just want humanely raised, preferably grass-fed, not full of antibiotics or GMO feed. Yeah. Yeah, everybody starts doing that, man, we'll be way better off. They'll have way less control of us. Your fucking testosterone will go up, because we're having a big low testosterone issue with all the bullshit that they're doing to people. So that's an issue. Thinking horse and buggy soon. Yeah, horse and buggy. Horses are not cheap to maintain either. Torrential rain we got yesterday. Got the ants invading my home. I'm going to have to get traps tomorrow. Chessworth says, Donald, they are pricing personal transportation out of the middle class price range, forcing them to use mass transit. Part of their agenda. Yeah. Yeah, we got to fight. We got to fight hard. And, well, here's what I don't get. Mass transit, like, why haven't they? Because why don't we got bullet trains running around the country? If they want to force people to use mass transit, just give them mass transit, and a lot of people will use it just because it's easier. I mean, think about it. If you got a bullet train system, and it's pretty pervasive, goes throughout, hits most reasonably sized towns, you could either spend, I don't know, what is it? It's hours and hours and hours driving to Florida from Oklahoma, or you could jump on a bullet train and just kind of land there and use a cab, go to the hotel, just do that. It's a lot less stress. Someone else is driving, right? Use bullet trains, but they haven't provided that here. They didn't have the sense to provide that. Instead, they want to try and force this other ridiculous plan. It's ridiculous. If they provided the bullet trains, people would be using them. So saw this on phantomsandmonsters.com. Little Ouija action. Donald says chessboard is tough for me being well below poverty level in Vermont. Yeah, it sucks, man. You got to change that. Chessboard says it also forces folks in the country to move to the inner city and suburbs. It does. It does. You can't function if you can't have your own car. It's just a mess. So this is a article they did on phantomsandmonsters.com. Ouija entity named AJ. Is it actually Zozo? So, public service announcement from the tattooed monkey. Mr. Ken Wheeler would advise that no one play with a fucking spirit board. Do not play with a Ouija board. That's the tattooed monkey says that. It's probably sound advice. Many experiencers are aware of the entity named Zozo, which is associated with Ouija manifestation. But there is another alleged entity calling itself AJ. Is this also Zozo? Marie in Sweden called in to tell her experience with a Ouija board and an entity calling itself AJ. She said, I was probably 21 because I was sharing an apartment with my sister, and that would make her 18. It was in Thousand Oaks. The apartment was on the 3rd floor, and we always had a bunch of friends over. It was pretty much the party apartment. So we had a bunch of friends over like once a week, and we would do Ouija. I didn't have a board, so what I did was I made one. I got a piece of cloth, like a t-shirt material, jersey. I drew all the letters on it and made all the designs, and I created a Ouija board. And I had like a glass ashtray, a small glass ashtray that we could use as a pointer. So the ashtray would just go over the letters and we could see through. So we had a lot of fun with it. We'd ask silly questions just for the first few times. Everybody would ask questions, and it was a lot of fun, and everybody had a good time. And then one night we had an entity come through. God, I don't even like to say his name because it still freaks me out to this day. But he called himself AJ. And he would just, at first, just kind of play around with us, you know. I think he was just kind of stringing us along kind of thing. We would ask who he was. When was he alive? How did he die? You know, those kind of things. And he told us that he died in a school bus accident and all the kids on the bus died. And we were like, oh. We were getting kind of creeped out by that. And he said he felt so guilty about it and it was his fault. I know it's hard to think that you could get that kind of information from a Ouija board, but I mean, this was over time. And so my sister and I tried to investigate. We didn't have an area, but we assumed it was from the local area, and we tried to investigate. We couldn't find any news stories about a major school bus incident like that. We looked at the local cemetery to see if we could see his name there. We couldn't find anything. So we got to the point where the friends would come over, and this entity would always come through. We were like, we don't want to talk to you. We want to talk to somebody else. It just got to be, you know, it was starting to freak us out. So we were thinking, how do we get rid of this guy? And then all of a sudden he started coming to me in my dreams. So now I'm getting really tripped out. I'm like, I said to my sister, her name was Crystal. I'm like, Crystal, we have got to get rid of this Ouija board. He's starting to come into my dreams. We got to get this thing out of the house. It's a bad entity or whatever. I didn't ever see him in my dream. It was like he was talking to me in my dream, and he told me his name, so that's how I knew it was who he was, but I didn't see him. It was just really freaky and bizarre and scary because I'm thinking, if we cannot only come through a Ouija board, I think she means if he can not only come through a Ouija board. Of course, you know, I'm not thinking sensible, of course. He come through anything if he can. If he can come through the Ouija board, of course, he can come into my thoughts or what have you. Jimmy Church asked if they ever found out who he was. We never found out who he was, and we decided to get rid of the Ouija board. So we took the Ouija board and we threw it into the big apartment dumpster out back. We just threw it away, and we were like, no more Ouija Ouija-ing. No more. We'll do something else. We'll have the friends over for a party, but we're not going to Ouija anymore. So like a week later, my sister and I are in the kitchen and we're cooking, and I said, get me the blah, blah, or whatever out, what I was asking for. And she goes to the drawer to pull it out, and there, folded up in a drawer is, guess what? I am serious. She's like, Mariah, look in the drawer. I'm like, how is it there? How did it get there? We threw it out. How did it get there? We ended up burning it. We were so freaked out, so scared. That was the end of it. Once I burned it, that was it. Transcribed source was Fade to Black with Jimmy Church. Got a note here. Apparently, this is not the first time AJ or AJ Trippy has made itself known. After a Google search, it seems several people have had other experiences with this entity. Is it a pseudonym for Zozo? I contacted Darren Evans and Rosemary Ellen Gilly at the time. They both were unaware of the name. Lon. I later uncovered the following account. When I was growing up, we didn't know about Ouija board dangers. In fact, it was often left under the tree. We played with it some back then, but I didn't pay much attention to it. I just figured others were moving it, to be honest. In fact, it wasn't until I was 17 that I witnessed proof, to me anyways, that there was more to this board than I originally had believed. My first ex-wife, then my girlfriend, and I were at a party at a friend's house. We were sitting around hitting a pipe with the group. Hey, it was the 80s. When Ouija came up, my friend's older brother talked about it. I was like, dude, those things are just bull. He was like, no, man, it really works. You just have to learn to use it correctly and give it some time. He asked if I wanted to play, and I said no. My ex, on the other hand, was enthused, so he brought out the board, set it up, and they began. I'll never forget that night. I was sitting across the room watching them play. They were asking questions, getting yes or no answers, and I thought, what a con. So I started thinking to myself, okay, is this thing really working? Mind you, I'm across the room, nowhere near this board. I repeat a question over and over in my head. No one knows I'm doing this. I keep repeating in my head, what's Tanya's middle name? The board starts moving really fast in a figure eight. I hear her ask him what's going on. He's like, I don't know. In the meantime, I'm repeating my question in my head over and over. It stops, and I hear her say, A, then it starts again. Then I hear him say, N. This continues, N-E-T-T-E. Then the Ouija moves back to normal speed. He says, Annette, what's that about? She lets go of the Ouija with her eyes so wide open they looked like they were about to pop out. Then she says, that's my middle name. I was like, guess it's not bull. He looks across the room at me and asks, dude, were you asking that? I just smiled and said yes. Well, needless to say, she was tired of playing with the Ouija that night. Ha ha. Well, me being me, that really sparked my interest. I began doing Ouija sessions for a while. It surprised me, but it really seemed to work. I noticed, though, that every time we used this thing, it increased in intensity. We would always start out talking with one spirit, and then others would come through and take over the board. This one would come through as AJ. Through time, we learned he was a young boy who drowned. Honestly, we thought of him as a friend, but then after a few months, his responses became more vulgar in nature, sometimes outright hostile. We would get on him, threatening to end the session and not return if he didn't stop. Then the board would start moving lightning fast. It trailed to the letters Zozo. This would keep repeating until we decided AJ was throwing a fit. We would say goodbye and put the board away and then move on with our day. Well, we were tired of it, to be honest. It seemed like every time we got on it, AJ would take over and not let us communicate with anyone else. So we finally stopped messing with it altogether. Then through the years, we learned of the board's dangers and decided to let it go. This is where my story becomes worthwhile. Just a couple of years later, I learned of a paranormal investigator's research into a worldwide phenomenon known as Zozo. Zozo is a spirit or demon. I'm not sure that it has been linked to murders and suicides worldwide. He comes through Ouija sessions and works on mental stability of users searching for vulnerable victims. Now, granted, we did not fall into his game to that point, thank God. However, I think it's imperative for anyone using a Ouija board to be aware of this thing or these things. So I think I don't know if there's more here. So, I don't know, how do we determine, because they're communicating with something, and I mean multiple somethings. I mean, who knows how many? There could be an endless number of entities that they are communicating with through the Ouija board or some other means. But so I don't know. I mean, I have some ideas of how some proper research could be done, but it's like any science; it would require the money to do it properly, and so on and so forth. See what's going on in the chats. Angel says, I don't know if full carnivore would help me with the sun. Light-skinned redhead equals burn easy. I don't eat veggies, never have liked them. Angel, it will help you. And Angela, it will help you. Trust me. Because when I was young, like I would oftentimes, and as it starts to warm up outside and you end up at the lake and I'd end up blistered all to shit. That hasn't happened to me in a long time. A whole lot of other people, doesn't matter how fair skinned they are, they have more resilience to the sun if they stop eating anything that's plants. It will help you. Now, that doesn't mean you can't burn some. You can, but you're burning a lot more easily because of the toxins in the plants. The exact mechanisms, as far as I know, nobody's necessarily that I've seen has identified exactly what's going on. But all we know is this is what people are experiencing when they're on a fully carnivorous diet for a while. They get to where they can go out in the sun and not burn near as easily, if at all. So you might want to give it a try. Donald says, I think they are phooey. They don't give out the right lotto numbers. Angela says, they don't even keep Amtrak going in New York above Albany. Yeah. It's a bunch of bullshit, man. Donald says, Angel, I used to have to sit at the table for hours until I ate my veggies. Yeah. Trying to create a better world for kids everywhere where the parents know to don't even try to feed their kids the veggies. Don't feed the kids veggies. It's bad for them. Donald says, Angel, they're not running to the Montreal anymore. Angel says, Donald, they stopped because of the Canadian wildfires. Canada wanted them to go slower to, I guess, avoid sparks. I mean, here's the thing: if you don't let it burn now, it will burn later, hotter. Because if it don't burn now, as time goes on, more and more dead material falls to the ground and it gets built up, and it will eventually catch fire, and you'll have a big hot fire. This is why it's important that if you want to try and prevent total destruction of a forest, never, ever, ever put out lightning fires, and ideally go out and do some controlled burns, at least in section here, section there, to help protect the forest from completely burning down. But because they learned this decades ago, they've known this for decades. If you go out putting out a fire because you got stuff, it's a forest fire. No, it's supposed to burn sometimes to get rid of the excess dead material on the ground. As long as it burns regularly, it never gets built up so much that it completely burns the live trees down. Usually the live trees mostly survive. But if you let all the dead material build up until it's a really hot fire, when it does start and you can't control it, it's burning too hot, there's too much fuel, and you're having a hard time keeping it under control. It's just better to let it burn. And if they're worried about sparks from the fucking train, then they need to make a regular schedule of controlled burns along the railway. They just need to fucking do it and stop bitching. But because it don't matter, even if they go slower, there's still going to be a spark thrown sometimes. There's still going to be someone somewhere throwing a cigarette butt down. There's still going to be a lightning strike. The bitch is going to burn. Jesper says, Donald reminds me of spinach. Yeah, it's fucking spinach. Donald says, chessboard, it was Brussels sprouts my mom had a fetish for. I still can't stand them. Yeah, Brussels sprouts. The only proper way to eat Brussels sprouts is to cook the living shit out of them and then fry them in butter until they're almost black. And then they're not so bad. But they're not good for people to eat, though. They're not good for you. Chessboard says, Donald, they're baby cabbages. Yeah, well, broccoli, Brussels sprout, all those are the same species, but they're just different breeds. Humans took a wild brassica, the cabbage family, and they selectively bred it to all these different types of plants, but they're all the same. They're all the same species, so they'll interbreed with each other if you let them. Cabbage, broccoli, and cauliflower and Brussels sprouts and all those are the same species, just different breeds. Donald says, yes, Chessboard, I think my mom ate them just to torture me. Chessboard says, Angel and Nolan, you ever eat at Reuben's in Montreal and St. Catherine? Don't think so. They replaced the rails not long ago. It amazed me how long the rails were. Donald says, never heard of that place, Chessboard. Wonderful steaks, gigantic Reuben sandwiches. Favorite Canadian food is poutine. Montreal smoked meat sandwiches, the bomb. Poutine is good, but the taters are not in my diet. I'd use it as a cheap food. Chess versus Angel, isn't that fries with gravy and curds? Angel says, Donald, I don't eat potatoes as much now as I used to, but a good poutine I will. Yeah, you'll appreciate it more. When you eat something like that that's off your diet, you'll probably appreciate eating it, like as far as enjoying the flavor and stuff, a lot more if you're not eating that kind of stuff the vast majority of the time. But you will notice that you'll be able to notice that you don't feel as good afterwards. Like a lot of people, they comment on this, how they didn't realize they felt bad. They just thought that's just how you feel. And then they found out differently how much better you can feel if you don't eat the poisonous foods. Anything from a plant is a poisonous food to a human. Same thing for lions. They're not supposed to eat plants. I see people saying this stuff about, the Ice Age. The humans they made the mistake of saying, they think, when they hear Ice Age, they're thinking, humans were out there living on a solid glacier. Well, what the fuck were the mastodons eating? You know, they're acting like there wasn't an ecosystem going on, that there were plants, there was grasses growing that they were eating. What the world wasn't covered in a solid sheet of ice. Okay, there was, you know, they were living south of the ice. They might venture on it. It might be ice and snow in the wintertime, but there was an ecosystem. There were plants all around them. Humans just didn't fucking eat the plants. Just like the lion does not eat the plants. It eats the shit that eats the plants, and that's what humans were doing. But we weren't eating the grass and all that bullshit. Broccoli did not even exist. Corn didn't exist, not in the form it did. They hadn't discovered the shit yet anyway. It was this piddly little grass, you know. They didn't have a lot of this shit. Potatoes, we found potatoes just a few hundred years ago, and we've selectively bred it into this big tuber. It was once a much smaller tuber, and it just wasn't something that humans would typically eat until after all of our prey got wiped out. And I mean all of them. We focused on those big megafauna. We wouldn't have fucked with a goddamn pig hardly ever. We would have just said, no, look how little that fucking thing is. There's no meat on that. Let's go get a mastodon. That's what they did for the most part. Real Canadian poutine, real good dark gravy. Just where it says Angel, last when I first read that, it said prune tang. Old age is catching up with you. Oh, man. Gravy's chicken fried steak on my. Got another article here with some various Ouija board experiences. Let's see if that's popped up. There we go. Boom. 7 good and bad Ouija board experiences. You're hanging out with friends when someone pulls out a Ouija board. You've heard some creepy things about them, but you're intrigued. Before you know it, you're in the middle of a Ouija board session. When the planchette begins sliding back and forth from H to A over and over again, as the Ouija board laughs at you, the lights go out. While your Ouija board experience was spooky, some people have had downright terrifying Ouija experiences, while others have had positive ones. When you're playing with spirits, you never know what you're going to get. The Donovan Poltergeist. One of the best known and most publicized Ouija board stories is the Donovan Poltergeist. It all began when a teenage girl started using a Ouija board by herself in her bedroom. She connected with what she believed was the spirit of a teenage boy. She communicated with the spirit for nearly a year and developed a relationship. She was enamored with the spirit until things began to happen that revealed she had been deceived by a very malevolent spirit. A tapping sound started to happen in the house at all hours. The haunting escalated, and by the time the family contacted Ed and Lorraine Warren, the poltergeist activity was out of control. In a video interview, the Warrens recount how containers of ketchup, bleaches, oils, and other liquids floated down the hall, and the contents dumped onto the carpet, furniture, and various furnishings. The furniture levitated and moved on its own. Water gushed from the walls, and stones fell from the sky, plummeting the roof. Imagine they mean pummeling the roof of the house. The pounding on the walls, the roof, the floors became so violent that cracks formed and ran down the walls. Ed Warren retells how he was attacked while in the house and his arm slashed in what he calls psychic slashes. These slashes were made in the shape of a cross. The Warrens ended up calling a priest to assist them in an exorcism. Seth and the Evil Stench. In July The 1987 National Examiner featured a story by Robert Stamper. According to Robert, he and his brother were just kids when they decided to play with a Ouija board. Neither of the boys knew anything about using a Ouija board, so when the planchette began to move on its own, the boys were fascinated and terrified. They watched as the planchette spelled out the word Seth. Robert baited the spirit by daring it to prove that it was real. This was the invitation the spirit was waiting for, and it took Robert up on his dare. Moving the planchette, Seth predicted that one of Robert's best friend's grandfathers would die in 1 week. As if to punctuate its predictions, the spirit shook the chandelier, and the rumbling radiated throughout the house, sounding as if metal was clashing against metal. The temperature in the room dropped. The boy shivered from the sudden chill. Robert looked at the thermostat, and it was set at 70 degrees Fahrenheit. As if the coldness wasn't bad enough, a gagging stench filled the air, making the boys cough and gasp, I assume they mean, for air. Then, just as quickly as it started, it stopped. Silence. The boys threw the board away, but not before they told their mother about the experience. Their mother didn't offer them the comfort they must have expected, or the reassurance that since they tossed the board into the trash, everything would return to normal. He states that his mother told him that once a Ouija board is used, the evil it allows to enter the world remains forever. He admits that she was right, and that even today tremors run through the house, and that awful smell of death permeates the air. As for Seth's prediction about the death of his friend's grandfather, the reader is left wondering. It took over Mom's life. Dale Kaczmarek, I guess, of Ghost Research, published a letter from one of their readers named Pam Frost. Pam discovered that her mother was obsessed with using a Ouija board by herself. In her letter, Pam recounts how she returned home from a trip and, exhausted, retired for the night, only to awake in the middle of the night to find her mother in her bedroom staring at her. The two had an odd exchange about Pam being protected by something other than God, which ended up with her mother becoming angry and leaving the room. Around 1 a.m., Pam heard quite a commotion coming from downstairs. She could hear the boisterous voices of men and women as though her mother were having a party. She went downstairs and got the biggest shock when she saw that her mother was the only person in the living room. All those voices were somehow coming from her mother as she sat in front of the Ouija board. Pam writes that she eventually moved out of the house after she burned her mother's Ouija board. While her relationship with her mother improved, her mother bought a new Ouija board and used it until she died. Get the boy. A Reddit user, Ragnistel, writes that when he was a teenager, he asked his friend to take out her Ouija board so they could use it. She retrieved the board but refused to use it with him, so he decided to use the board by himself. The teenager tried to get some kind of response from a spirit, any spirit, but the planchette didn't move, and there were no answers to his many questions. After some time of using the board with no results, he grew frustrated. He decided to antagonize any spirits present and bully them into participating in the game. He boldly proclaimed that any spirit in the room that was refusing to answer him was a coward. With that statement, he boxed up the board, gave it back to his friend, and went home. One night, a week later, a powerful thunderstorm woke him. The teenager lay in his bed, silently listening to the thunderclaps and falling rain as he tried to fall back asleep. Imagine his utter disbelief and shock when he heard a raspy whisper coming from downstairs that said, "Get the boy." The voice repeated the order, "Get the boy." The slamming a downstairs door followed the command. The teenager knew that there shouldn't be anyone else in the house, much less downstairs. The incident terrified the teenager and left him with a great appreciation for the power he had unleashed with the Ouija board. See what's going on in chat. Gravy chicken fried steak. Oh my. Jesswort says, Donald, did you see Hunter is pissed because Green showed his junk to Congress? yeah, she did. Marjorie Taylor Greene showed Hunter's junk to everybody. Angela Nolan says, I have cut way back on carbs, never eat veggies, and try to eat more meat and eggs and cheese and less junk food. That's good. That's real good. Donald says, no, I didn't chessboard. Angel, that's what I'm currently eating for a diet. Love my Cabot, seriously sharp cheddar. Yeah, it's good stuff. Chessboard says, Donald, I find it amazing that he denied it was his computer for almost 2 years. Now all of a sudden he wants his data and photos back from the drive. What a moron. Yeah. Well, the whole damn party. Deny, and they're still going to keep defending those assholes. These people, like, they're brainwashed. They're brainwashed cult members. These guys are criminals. They're guilty. Angela says, Donald, have that in the fridge. Often have it for a snack. A couple good slices keeps me out of the junk food. Donald says, chessboard, he isn't too brilliant. Yeah. Well, if you look at that report, where they talk about the people they were dealing with, even said he was a dumbass. Making me hungry. Chessboard is hungry. Eating that woke Ben and Jerry's. Don't eat that woke Ben and Jerry's, man. Guess it would have helped if I put the chat up when I was reading it, but I didn't. But I'm going to go back to this other deal anyway. Saved by the Ouija board. Another Reddit user, a woman, recounts that when she was a child, her mother gifted her with a Ouija board. She decided to use the Ouija board the night before she and her mom were scheduled to begin a road trip to visit her grandparents. The two of them set up the Ouija board, and the girl asked the questions. When she asked if she and her mom should leave as planned at 10 a.m., the planchette moved about the board with a warning not to leave at that time. The planchette spelled out that if the mother and daughter left as planned, they would end up in an accident due to a blown tire. The car they were in would plow into an 18-wheeler. Frightening, the mother and daughter decided to leave 5 minutes after 10 a.m., ensuring they wouldn't collide with a tractor-trailer truck. Just as the Ouija board predicted, the front tire on their car blew out, but the mom was able to wrestle the car to the side of the road, grateful they weren't thrown into the path of an oncoming 18-wheel truck. Max, the spirit, saves a girl. One of the best Ouija board stories with a happy ending also comes from a Reddit user. The story is about a teenage girl and a spirit named Max that came through the Ouija board during a sleepover. The girl grew tired of the Ouija board and, along with a couple of other girls, retired to another room to conduct tarot readings. Things turned odd when the girls in the other room called out to her, wanting to know who Max was and why he was asking about her. The girl was perplexed, since she had never known anyone named Max. When Max began revealing intimate details about the girl's life, like the abuse she was suffering, the girl shut it down, asking her friends to stop using the Ouija board. Her friends stopped the session immediately and put the Ouija board away. That was the end of the matter, or so she thought. A year later, at another sleepover, one of those friends was with her in a different group of girls. While she and that friend were in the kitchen baking a cake, the other girls found the Ouija board in the closet and began playing with it. Just as the previous time, Max came through and the girls called out to her from the other room, wanting to know who Max was. Startled, the girl that Max had been waiting all this time to speak with her again. Since that last sleepover, she feels Max's presence and that he is always with her. She believes that for whatever reason, Max has appointed himself as her guardian angel. She claims that Max saved her life by calling out her name just as she was about to step into the path of an oncoming car. Instead, she stopped to turn around to see who was calling her, but no one was there. Thanks, Max. A visit from Grandpa. Another Reddit user, Shader Kong, tells how his mother, a highly spiritual person, uses a Ouija board, implying that she knows how to use the board as a divination tool. One night, she invites the boys to join her for a Ouija board session, but neither boy is interested. Later that night, she wakes up, and instead of the normal feeling of fear, he feels a peace and safe. Suddenly, he sees a brilliant blue light glowing in the hall. Instead of feeling frightened, he feels peaceful as he watches the figure of an elderly man walking with a cane stop in front of the bedroom door, open doorway. He describes the man's attire. The boy feels paralyzed and unable to do anything, but looks at the man, yet he's not afraid. The old man looks at the boy and they lock gazes. The boy doesn't still feel threatened by the apparition. The man looks away from the boy and continues down the hall toward his mother's bedroom. The boy doesn't alert anyone in the house, especially his mother, but instead falls back to sleep. The next morning, as his mother is driving he and his brother to school, the boy tells her about the blue figure of the old man. His mother begins to sob and has to pull off the road to regain her composure. She tells the boy that the man he described was her grandfather. During her Ouija board session the previous night, she connected with her grandfather. As in this story, when used by an adept, a Ouija board is a divination tool. Stories of good and bad Ouija board experiences. Just like anything in life, there are some people who have good Ouija board experiences and some who have bad ones. Keep in mind that the Ouija board isn't a game, but a divination tool best used by someone who knows how to use it safely. So I don't know, has anyone here ever used one of these things? Chessport says, Donald, the natives want their land back for Ben and Jerry, from Ben and Jerry. Chessport says, Donald, seriously, the native tribe wants their land back from Ben and Jerry. Donald says, yes, Chessport, it is their plant in the waterberry. That's what I was talking about last night, wasn't it? Because I couldn't remember what company it was. It may have been Ben and Jerry's that was trying to be all woke and say that people should give their homes, their land back to the Indians. And it turned out that Ben and Jerry's, of course, owns land that belonged to the Indians. Everyone in America does who owns land. The chief, if you saw him go on the news, though, he went and got interviewed with somebody. I can't remember who it was. And he said that they don't actually want the land back. They just want it acknowledged that was their land and it was taken wrongfully. Chessport says, Donald, I've spent an excessive amount of time outdoors this summer, so I can apply for reparations. Got good enough tan, do you? Yeah, stupid reparations, man. All right. Well, I know a lot of people out there, they don't take Ouija board seriously. They don't think that anything spiritual exists. A lot of atheists out there think, oh, this stuff don't exist. Well, I hate to tell you, but you guys are operating on some bad science, and most of these atheists who act like, because they're trying to act like they're just operating off strictly scientific world, but they're not scientists. These atheists are mostly just as stupid as the average person when it comes to science, and want to act like they're smart somehow. linear reality, we could talk about the various sciences that have been corrupted by misinformation and just egos in some cases, but it's money. It's all about money. You're told to do a study and you're getting money from a company that has an interest in the outcome of that study having being a certain result, then you're going to come up with that result. Otherwise, they're not going to be happy. They're not going to, so what ends up happening is scientists end up lying. And so you can't always trust the science unless you make sure the science hasn't been corrupted, right? You got to be careful. And when it comes to the spirits, again, they're operating off science that doesn't know what that is. They don't know what the phenomenon is. And we went through the Tattooed Monkey's article on ghosts, trying to explain what the hell it is. But, it's just mainstream ain't going to accept it yet. They just aren't. So I don't know what to do about that other than just keep talking, I guess. Keep talking. So this is on ABC, ABC7NewYork.com. Extraterrestrial technical supremacy top concern. Pentagon UFO investigator says. The scientist and military intelligence officer leading the Pentagon's task force for unidentified anomalous phenomena, UAPs, which the public calls UFOs, says being caught off guard by intelligent or extraterrestrial technical supremacy remains a top concern as investigators analyze the more than 800 cases of mysterious sightings reported by the U.S. military personnel dating back decades. Data and science has to guide where you go, and we will follow the data, Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick said last month in an exclusive first interview after his appointment to the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, or AARO. Congress established the office last year to coordinate efforts across federal agencies to detect, identify, and attribute mysterious objects of interest in the air, in outer space, and underwater, with special focus on mitigating potential threats to military operations and national security. The most common misconception is that the possible phenomena are all the same thing, and they're all extraterrestrial, and neither of those are true, Kirkpatrick said. We have to go through the rigor of taking each one, matching it against our known objects and catalogs, and then reviewing that, peer reviewing that, and making sure that everybody's in agreement, he said, of the process, which has included establishing a government-wide data collection initiative. The AARO has looked into some high-profile UAP sightings highlighted in congressional hearings, including a 2019 video recording taken by Navy sailors of glowing triangles floating above them. The vast majority of cases reviewed since the office was established are readily explainable, Kirkpatrick said, noting that final evidence-based determinations remain slow and ongoing. Many reported phenomena are later attributed as likely balloons, drones, debris, or animals such as large birds, he said. That 2019 video was later determined to be ordinary drones distorted by night vision goggles. I have a full range of hypotheses. On one end of the spectrum, it's advanced technology that's coming from an adversary. Right in the middle, I have all my known objects, balloons and drones and birds and whatnot. And then on the far end of the spectrum, we have extraterrestrials, says Kirkpatrick. A small number of reports, roughly 2 to 5% of cases, are unexplained anomalies, including the so-called 2004 Tic-Tac incident. It's really hard to guess on this. I don't like to guess, Kirkpatrick said of the case. The more things that I see that resemble a tic-tac, then I can get more and more information about what that is. 65% of Americans believe intelligent life exists beyond Earth, According to a 2021 Pew Research Center survey, a majority, 51%, also said then that UAPs under investigation by the government are likely proof of contact. I can't rule it out, but I don't have any evidence, Kirkpatrick said. The House Oversight Committee announced earlier this week that it will hold a hearing on the phenomena on Wednesday as Republican lawmakers pursue unproven whistleblower allegations that the government is secretly in possession of intact and partially intact alien spacecraft, which the Pentagon has said is unsubstantiated. Two former government intelligence analysts came forward last month alleging that details of the alleged craft are being illegally withheld from Congress and the American people. Neither has publicly provided any evidence to substantiate their claims. We've interviewed almost 30 individuals who have come in to provide their testimony, and out of all of those, none of it has yet led to any verifiable information that substantiates the claim that the U.S. government has those ships or has a reverse engineering program either in the past or currently, Kirkpatrick said when asked about the allegations. He downplayed the possible existence of a secret program that he is not privy to, saying nothing has been denied us. A number of these whistleblowers believe that and have stated, and we believe them now, that they have seen something, and we are investigating, he said. The proliferation of conspiracy theories spawned by the UAPs has inspired a sense of bipartisan urgency on Capitol Hill. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, backed by other top Democrats and Republicans this month, called for greater transparency by the government. Legislation he proposed would force the National Archives to collect and publicly release records related to UAP reports within 25 years of when they were created, unless there is a compelling national security concern. There is something there, measurable light, multiple instruments, and yet it seems to move in directions inconsistent with what we know of physics or science more broadly. And that, to me, poses questions of tremendous interest, as well as potential national security significance. Representative Adam Schiff of Democrat of California said during the House Intelligence Committee hearing on UAPs in 2022. Multiple congressional committees have also explored concerns that the mysterious sightings could be evidence of surveillance by other countries. My priority is that we understand the full range of threats posed by our adversaries in all domains, Republican Senator Joni Ernst of Iowa said during an Armed Services Committee hearing on UAPs in April. For his part, Kirkpatrick is focused on the gathering of facts and evidence. A lot of these stories, a lot of these allegations crop up again and again over history. He said, I'm not going to jump ahead to conclusions until we have more data. Asked whether he believes intelligent extraterrestrial life exists, Kirkpatrick said, I think it's statistically, unrealistic to think it isn't. And that finding it would be probably the best outcome of this job. How much chat did I miss? Donald says he's never had anything spiritual happen. Chessboard says, maybe I should have been a cop eating donuts now. The mother, Angel, have you heard from Eyes? How is she doing with the water? Blamed other people for taking as making the planchette move. Yeah. So that was the one that was the thing that was always a red flag for me. Why does everybody got to be touching the planchette? If the planchette's going to move with you touching it, it ought to be able to move with you not touching it. Angela knows it's just where last chat I saw her in, all was okay there. Good. and thing moved with no one touching it. So that was your experience. So you used it with your mother. Used a Ouija board, Angela. Donald says chessboard. She should be okay. She is higher ground like me, but the valleys were devastated. Realistic, she was on high ground, but landslides appear out of nowhere. Yeah. People got to be really, really, really careful about choosing where they live. Yeah, I was at a house when I was 19, I think it was, in Colorado, and you look out the back windows of this house, and you look almost straight up, and there's this huge big rock kind of sticking out. Like, I'm looking at this thing, I'm thinking, at any time that thing could come loose from the side of the mountain and just demolish this fucking house, and these people choose to live here. But it's worse than that. Like, there was this case where there was a huge valley. This valley was miles across the valley. It's miles across the valley. There's a river down there, and then it's got, cliffs on the other side. And there's a Boy Scout camp in this valley. And because when you have layers of rock, those cliff sides, it's layers of rock, and and of course the layers can get tilted with the move. The earth moves, right? Sometimes they'll get tilted, and sometimes between two different types of rock that are layered on top, one on top of the other. Sometimes that interface where they're not. It's not strongly attached, I guess you could say. It's not stuck really well. So if you have two layers of rock that aren't firmly attached to each other, really, I mean, they're attached, but it's not a really strong bond. So if the layers get turned like this, and you get a lot of water coming through, kind of lubricating the situation and all that stuff, at some point, what could happen, I don't know if I'll make sure you guys can see me. So at some point, what could happen when you have those layers tilted like that, and it's in a valley where, because the valley cut into there, so there's that open face on that one side. The one layer can just slide off the other, so you have just thousands and thousands of metric tons of rock come down that valley wall, crumbling all up, tremendous forces, and starts and then it's like a tidal wave of just gigantic fucking rocks and dust and everything else coming across, and it's coming down with so force, and it's happened in this valley. It came down with so much force, so much material. It was like a tidal wave of just rock, tons of gravel and boulders and shit, and it traveled miles. It was a few miles across this valley, as I recall, and it went all the way across the valley, and then on the other side of the valley wall, it came up, and it come up the other side a little bit, like that. All that rocks and debris came all the way across and came up the other side of the wall a little bit before it stopped. Well, as you can imagine, anyone in that valley got completely obliterated, including the Boy Scout camp. Don't fuck with geology. It also says, Angel, we didn't get that, but I've heard that before from others. Chessboard says, Angel, I heard several stories of that happening over the years. Donald says, true, Chessboard. I worry about our place setting on top of shallow topsoil with slates underneath. Donald says, the old man of the mountain let go in New Hampshire. Chessboard says, T canyons out west have flash floods for rains 100 miles wide. Yeah, You gotta be careful where you live. It might look nice and peaceful at the moment, but Mother Nature can turn into total bitch mode at any time and fuck you up. So over on Newsweek.com. Boom. Make sure that's popped up. GOP congressman suggests UFOs may be ancient civilization. Finally, somebody talking some fucking sense about this. Why would we have a bunch of aliens flying around? Why we are not as interesting as we think we are. There are countless planets out there that they could visit, and I guarantee you we are not unique. And they probably, why would they want to spend time coming here and hanging out and doing all this bullshit that people claim they did? No, these people came from here. They're ancient human civilization, probably, like this guy did. A Republican congressman has suggested that unidentified flying objects, UFOs, could be an ancient civilization that is hiding on Earth, but has only just begun to show itself. Mike Gallagher, a representative for Wisconsin and chair of the House Committee on the Chinese Communist Party, discussed various theories about the potential origins of alien sightings while appearing on the Pat McAfee show on Tuesday. There, he spoke about the ongoing efforts of Congress to investigate claims that the government may be in possession of technology not from this world. House Oversight Committee Chair James Comer announced an investigation into allegations at the beginning of June. The alien probe was launched after various claims were made publicly by David Grush, a 36-year-old Air Force veteran who previously worked at the National Reconnaissance Office on what is now referred to as unidentified aerial phenomena. Representative Mike Gallagher on February 28, 2023 in Washington, D.C. Gallagher discussed various theories about the potential origins of alien sightings while appearing on the Pat McAfee show. So I guess that's him talking some damn sense here. Grush told News Nation after featuring in an article on the same subject in Debrief that the government had retrieved several non-human origin technical vehicles, some of which contained dead pilots. Appearing on the sports talk show, Gallagher suggested that one possible explanation of supposed UFO sightings was the so-called Terminator theory, based on the film of the same name, that aliens were actually human beings from the future. Stop. That is a stupid theory. People cannot travel back in time. That's extremely stupid. That doesn't even qualify as science fiction because it's not even remotely possible. It's fantasy, and it's a ridiculous theory. Humans have not traveled back in time. It's not possible. That would break the universe and shit. That's not how shit works. That's fantasy movies, and that's it. Another hypothesis, he said, was that as opposed to being us from the future, it could actually be an ancient civilization that has been hiding here and is suddenly showing itself. That is the most reasonable explanation in the fucking room right there. Another member of the discussion then interjected, like Transformers, referencing the toy and film franchise in which a mechanized race of aliens seeks refuge on Earth from a civil war taking place on their own planet. In comic book literature, they are said to live for millions of years. However, Gallagher said the worst case scenario would be if the reported sightings of craft that appear to defy modern capabilities were actually advanced technology built by adversarial nations. He added that fears of potential Chinese weapons developments had been his entry point into the UFO discussion. Speaking about the investigation into UFO claims, the congressman echoed remarks on Monday by GOP Senator for Florida, Marco Rubio, who said those coming forward to give testimony have held very high clearances within the government, but were fearful of their jobs for speaking out publicly. Gallagher said he could not talk about who they are or the precise number of whistleblowers who had spoken in the investigation, but added that he had already been party to a variety of pretty intense conversations. A spokesperson for Representative Tim Burchett, a Republican congressman in Tennessee who is one of the leaders of the investigation, previously told Newsweek that definitive hearing dates and witness list had yet to be finalized, but that he wants this hearing to be done right with credible witnesses. Gallagher argued that it was important to destigmatize speaking out on the subject, as in the past, individuals such as fighter pilots who claimed to have seen a UFO were getting ridiculed. The biggest source of resistance is just people are almost sort of embarrassed to talk about the topic, he said. They think they're going to be labeled as crazy, tinfoil hat, conspiracy theory, Looney Tunes person. So just by having these discussions out in the open, I think it goes a long way. However, Gallagher added, most of the resistance is just from the bureaucracy in the Defense Department and in the intelligence community. He claimed that 5 requests regarding UAPs he had made to U.S. intelligence agencies had yet to elicit a response. Newsweek approached the Department of Defense via email for comment on Wednesday. Both the Department of Defense and NASA have publicly stated that they have no evidence of extraterrestrial life or that government programs to reverse engineer alien technology exist. Now, technically, if I'm correct and if this congressman is correct, that last sentence is completely accurate. The Department of Defense and NASA have no evidence of extraterrestrial life or that government programs to reverse engineer alien technology exist. So that's technically a true statement, if I'm correct, right? And that would be that this is technology from a very old civilization of humans, not aliens. So it's not extraterrestrial life. It's not alien technology. It's from Earth, and it's humans. They might be little gangly little humans, but they're humans. I know it sounds, a lot of people are probably like, damn it, everything to you is humans. Yeah, because that's the most sensible answer to the fucking question. That's why. Those little gray looking things, they're human shaped, as people describe them. They're human shaped. There's less difference between those gray aliens that people describe. They call them grays. There's less difference between them and us than between a Chihuahua and a beagle, as far as morphological differences. Just like with the Bigfoot. The Bigfoot, I say, is almost certainly a race of humans. And there is less difference between the Sasquatch, the descriptions of Sasquatch, the ones that seem at least to be the most credible. There's less difference between the Sasquatch and us than there is between a Saint Bernard and that same fucking beagle. And beagles, Saint Bernards, beagles, and Chihuahuas are all the same species. They're all dogs. Now, you probably wouldn't want to try and breed a Chihuahua to a fucking Saint Bernard. It wouldn't go well. That bitch would get wrecked. But it'd make for good doggy porn, I suppose. Anyway, they morphologically, both Bigfoots and the gray aliens morphologically are human. They're designed like a human being. Why the fuck is the first aliens we run across not something with a bunch of tentacles or some bullshit? No, it looks like a little human. That's all it is, with a big head, big eyes, sure, but it looks like a little human. Chessboard says, I wish I could type and spell. Why would any intelligent life from another world want to communicate with evil, demented warmongers of this planet? I don't think they would. I mean, they might. They might want to say, but here's the thing. If they have technology to get here from another planet, they are way too advanced for us to even know they're here. But if all this technology is from this planet, from an ancient human civilization, it makes a whole lot more sense. One, the fact that they're here somewhere hiding, staying out of sight somehow with their technology. So we got plenty of time, and so lots of opportunities to see them and witness them. Plus, you're going to find archaeological evidence that that it looks like the government may be hiding it all, that shows the development of that technology over time. So it's just in the ground. These crashed UFOs may be just ancient versions, less advanced tech than what we see today. And, yeah, I mean, they wouldn't set foot, they wouldn't crash. They travel across the fucking galaxy. They're not going to crash. People act like they're going to get in there. Oh, it's bolt of lightning hit them. And oh, shit. No, I'm pretty sure they can deal with fucking bolt of lightning. They've traveled across the universe. They've left one planet and come to another. They're just too advanced. Aliens, and the aliens, I'm pretty sure it would be really smart of them. Sometimes sci-fi gets shit right. Like, I do think that they're correct that most alien civilizations will feel that it's better not to be seen or interfere or give technology to less advanced races, because it will end up in it'll end up really badly. It ended up really badly. Donald says that hurt my ears. Donald says Volt says he's seen it all when he worked at Area 51. Yeah, right. Volt worked at Area 51. Volt of Nonsense might have worked shoveling fertilizer somewhere. The only thing that's important to know about Volt is what his proper relationship with me is, and it's basically like this.
I'm his father. He comes to me for advices.
Oh man, Vault of Nightmares. For those people watching on Rumble who probably don't know who that guy is, Vault of Nightmares is a serious bullshit artist that for some reason gets away with making violent threats on YouTube. And he likes to talk like he's some big Billy badass and he's going to come kick your ass. But he's missing a lot of teeth, either from the math or he got his ass kicked that many times. I don't know.
I like to fuck my cat.
Donald says, oh my, not into doggy porn much, Lockbeard. Jesper says, Donald, speaking of ears, little boy with a hat with ear flaps was asked what he was. He replied he was a pirate. Other boy, where are your buccaneers? The little boy under my bucking hat. Buccaneers are under his bucking hat. Donald says, LOL, chessboard. Well, so I don't know. We need to figure out a way to do real scientific study of what of what the people. Well, because when you use a Ouija board, the problem with talking to some kind of entity is how do you know that he is or she or it is who it says it was? How do you know it's lying? Now, I like to think that there may be ways to determine that scientifically, be able to identify who you are talking to so that you can track various entities and figure out, if someone runs into a problem, maybe somebody gets hurt, they're playing around with a Ouija board and they get hurt by an entity, and then figuring out what entity it was because you have record of it. You were able to measure something about it and determine its individual signature. And then maybe you have people who have figured out ways of going after these entities and dealing with them or eliminating them or somehow tying their hands and fighting back. Right now, we don't know fucking shit. We just know that there's things out there and people get in contact with them through the Ouija board, and sometimes it can be a scary experience. So we need to figure that out because, people there. So the question in that first article was, is Zozo and AJ the same person, the same entity? Well, we can't really know that. Now, I think there's a possibility of figuring out a way to measure, with scientific instruments to measure an energy signature, frequencies that I can identify uniquely as a fingerprint which entity that is, which entity has been here. We're like, shit, we see some fucking Zozo up in this bitch. Zozo splooges all over the place, like shining the black light. Yep, that's fucking Zozo. That son of a bitch. Call up Lockbeard. He's gonna go in deep. He's gonna fucking smack Zozo around. Say, stop fucking with people, you piece of shit. Donald says, I saw Volt playing one of the war games live a while back. He wasn't no great soldier by his play. That's the only way he's going to be any kind of soldier is if he plays a video game. So yeah, I think it'd be interesting science to get into, to try and determine ways to identify what spirits you're talking to purposely communicate with them, to be able to make sure you're talking who you think you're talking to, and to be able to affect them in a way that'll encourage them not to be an asshole if they are being an asshole. There may be scientific methods to apply here, but we're not going to discover them without studying them. So anybody who wants to see that kind of shit, like, hey, donate to the channel. And hopefully one of these days we can start trying to go down that road and figure shit out. But science takes money. It just does. And there is no donors out there saying, hey, figure out how to fuck up Zozo. First, we need to figure out a way to identify the entities. And then we need to figure out a way to control them, to keep them from fucking with people, or to disperse them, destroy them somehow. Because everything's we don't know. We don't know what the fuck's going on. We got people making lots of claims, and we don't really know anything as scientific fact. And then the UFO subject. So many people convinced that they're dealing with aliens. Well, why do they say that? Do they know that for a fact? No. They just look at this thing. It looks kind of weird and like, it must be an alien. No, that thing is shaped exactly like a human, only it's smaller and has a bigger head, but it's a human. If you look at the shape of a Chihuahua compared to a Beagle, or how about even a pug dog? How about a pug? A Chihuahua, a pug, and a St. Bernard. They are very differently shaped, and they're greatly different in size, but they're all the same species. So if I'm correct, and it seems like the most logical option, if the sightings of these so-called aliens are legit sightings, that what we're dealing with is not an alien. It's a type of human. It's a breed of human. It's a race of people that are technologically advanced and have been here all along, and probably left over from the last great civilization. Most of the civilization got its dick knocked in the dirt, so most people ended up back in the goddamn Stone Age. But some group of these people survived somewhere with their technology and have been there ever since. And they mentioned in the articles, watching the skies and the waters and stuff like that. They need to. Why aren't they? They need to mention the moon. They need to mention the moon. It's very possible their entire civilization is in the moon. And if your civilization is living in the moon, and you are looking at a civilization down on Earth that has discovered how to make nuclear missiles and might start firing them at the moon, they could cause you a lot of trouble. So I can understand why they don't like nuclear missiles. Personally, I think that humanity needs to put nuclear weapons down, dismantle them all, get rid of them. It's extremely stupid to use nuclear weapons. It just is. It's dumb. Don't do it. It isn't just a big explosion. There's a whole lot more going on when a nuclear explosion occurs. You do not want to do that. You are affecting things in frequency ranges outside our normal perceptual range. There is life there that you can't see, but it's here. It's right here around us. You can't touch it, you can't hear it, you can't see it, but it is there. The frequencies go on and on and on. You only see a narrow band of an infinite spectrum. And there are things living in them other spectrums that are still affected by a nuclear blast. That's why you should never, ever trigger a nuclear explosion. You don't know who you're harming. And then, of course, you got the radiation issue to deal with for you. We don't need any more radiation up in this bitch. So stop it. I don't know how we can accomplish this because, everybody's got nuclear weapons pointed at each other, so nobody wants to put down their gun, because everyone's got a gun pointed at each other. It's a mess. It's a bad situation we're in. Personally, I would invite the other humans that are using this advanced technology to grab all the nuclear weapons and go get rid of them. Now throwing them in the sun, I don't think may not be the best thing to do. It might work out all right, but the best thing to do is dismantle them, take the fissionable material, and melt it down and blend it with some lead, and then encase it in some lead, and then drop it into a subduction zone down in the Mariana Trench or wherever a good subduction zone is, so that the Earth can take it back down, back into the Earth where it came from, and it's no longer a problem. Keeping them in storage facilities, keeping that material in storage facilities, that isn't actually. I mean, don't do that. Take the waste material like from power plants, melt it down with some lead and encase it in lead, and then you just it came from the Earth. It can go back to the Earth. It's going to be fine. You just want to put it somewhere where nobody can get to it, and they're not going to get to it if you drop it right into the subduction zone where the plates are one plate's going under the other one. So you drop them up here on this plate, and it'll get dragged. That material will get dragged down inside the Earth. Well, maybe you could It may or may not, but it may gather up there, but it can't explode, so it's fine right where it's at. Chessboard said Donald braggarts are another form of a bully. They are very easy to teach a lesson to if you're willing to kick their ass. Donald says, yes, Chessboard. He offered money to Lockbeard. Who did? Somebody offered me money. And I go to fight him. He offered money to Lockbeard and okay. He offered both of us money to go fight him in Memphis, but there's no way he could cough up the money unless he grifts his followers. Either I don't remember that or I didn't realize it. He was offering money. Fuck, let's go. Now, here's the problem with that is this dude is unhinged. He's mentally ill. You show up, he's probably going to pull a weapon. You know, I ain't doing that. Sorry. It's not worth it. He's insignificant. That's why I kind of for the most part, I just don't want to talk about him anymore, because you're giving him significance that he doesn't deserve. He isn't worthy of any significance. He's just a moron. And so he's best just ignored unless he says something of interest to make fun of him for on occasion. But for the most part, I think he should just be ignored as the completely insignificant little turd that he is. So, you know, whatever. Mr. Shoots dog men and so on and so forth. So, anyway, we are over 2 hours. It's definitely better that I cut out before I start getting drowsy.
You can't handle the truth.
Yeah. Get the stop screen out of there. So anyway, starting to wane. Thank you everybody for coming. If you're if you're someone on Rumble, please help out the channel on YouTube. Even if you don't plan on ever watching it on YouTube, I could use the subscribers over there. There's 2 Lockbeard channels. You'll see there's a listing in the description of this video. You'll see there's 3 different Lockbeard channels listed. The third one down there is the old channel. Don't really need subscribers there. I don't have access to it. It's still on YouTube. YouTube has kept it for itself, I guess. That was the original Lockbeard channel. But I have the current Lockbeard channel that's in suspension at the moment. And then I have a backup Lockbeard channel. The current one has a green on black banner, skulls. It's a green skulls on the back, on the banner. And then the backup channel is orange, the orange and black banner. So you know which ones they are. Could use subscribers on both of them. Because the main one with the green banner, it might get totally deleted off YouTube. They might decide to can it, in which case the backup channel becomes the new main channel, and then I got to make a new backup channel. So this has been my life for 2 years, because YouTube does not want me talking about this shit. They don't want you thinking about the real evidence that, the thinking logically about this stuff, that, when it comes to these subjects here in the LOCKBEARD Phenomena live streams, the paranormal type stuff, that Bigfoot is a human. The reason why they don't want you to know Bigfoot's a human, by the way, is because that means there's no arguing that they deserve human rights, and you can be damn certain that the U.S. government is violating their rights in one way or another. Maybe they're going out and killing them and exterminating them. using them for scientific research, tormenting them in the process. And they probably also don't want you to know that these UFOs are an ancient human civilization, which means there's plenty more to find under the ocean, because the ocean, that civilization collapsed when a big fucking rock hit the earth about 12,800 years ago, and it resulted in a 400-foot increase in sea level. So it covered up most of what was that civilization at the time. There's a bunch of shit offshore of all the continents in 300 to 400 feet of water. Or, well, I mean, obviously they would have been up on what's dry land today as well, but humans tend to congregate near the seashores for the most part. That's where most of their settlements are, the highest population, and where most of their technology to be discovered is going to be down there. 300 to 400 feet of water might be a good place to look if you got the ability to dive down and look around and find some stuff. They don't want you to know this, that this is an ancient civilization that was very advanced, that this shit came from. They want you to assume that those people were just a bunch of, dumbasses that didn't know anything. No, they knew some shit. If people say, well, what about, we see this evidence that these people were Stone Age over here, blah, 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 at the time. Yeah, there are people today that are still in the Stone Age. We got our advanced civilization here, and there's, tribes in the Amazon that we're not allowed to contact and fuck with them, You got those people on the North Sentinel Island that'll fucking kill you if you go over there trying to convert them to God. Because that fucking happened. Don't go to that island. That's why they don't want, the Indian government won't let anybody go over there. Because you got a very primitive people there that will fucking kill you if you set foot on the island. They don't give a fuck. They'll kill you. They'll probably eat you. But this ancient civilization. So it's not far fetched that there would be this ancient civilization with extremely advanced tech, while there'd be other populations that were still in the Stone Age. That maybe they didn't interfere with them because they didn't want to fuck them up, or maybe they just didn't care about them and just didn't talk to them or interact with them. They're primitives. They're not like us, So this technology that the government's playing with, these UAPs, they call them, this UFO stuff, there's probably a lot more to be found in the ocean, a lot of it in the ocean. So if you have the means to dive down looking, maybe you can find something if you're lucky. And they don't want you to know that. They don't want you to know that these aliens are not aliens. They're probably a race of humans. They've stayed isolated from us for so long that they've become different, selectively bred to be different, but no more different from us than a Chihuahua is from a pug dog. So these are things they don't want you to know. They don't want you to know that the jab was a genocide. They killed a bunch of people with the jab on purpose, premeditated. I talk about that sometimes outside the paranormal subject in the Random Lives, and many other stuff, many other things, secrets they don't want you to know. So anyway, let me, I'll catch up with the chat if there's anything, and then we'll get the fuck out of here. Donald says, yes, Lockbeard. He said he'd pay us $1,000 to fight him. Well, screw him. I don't give a shit. Chisper says, blessings to all. Donald says, I just like to bring the goof up. Night, everyone. Thank you, Lockbeard. Angela says, night, everyone. Donald says, that island is crazy. Yeah. That fucking guy, that fucking missionary. I'm going to go bring him God. Well, they showed him what they thought of his God. It sucks, but I mean, it sucks for him. But he shouldn't have gone there. He shouldn't have gone there. So thank you everybody for coming and hanging out. We'll see you. Maybe there'll be, hopefully, if the temperature's cooperate. Like, it's been really hot a lot of days, so it's been really hard to. Today it actually stayed pretty cool, but so it's not too bad. But it's been really hot a lot of days where I just can't. The computer stops functioning. It just, I have to let it rest. You know, it can't work in that kind of heat. So we may have a random live between now and next Saturday. If not, we'll definitely be back to do LOCKBEARD Phenomena 6 p.m. Central, and we'll still only be on Rumble next week because I got 9 more days of suspension on YouTube. So thanks for coming, and let me check the chat one more time. So nothing else. So thank you, and see you next time.